Mr. Minnick helping my students with strings worksheet number 1. We start by reading the directions very closely. Evaluate the code and show what prints to the screen. Treat the whole code segment here on the left as one continuous program with variables being updated as we go. Delimit any string answers with double quotes. You should know what a delimiter is by reading my lecture notes. And do not place double quotes though, do not delimit answers that are numbers. If an error would occur, print error. There may or may not be one or more intentional errors on this worksheet. Okay, number 1, we have this variable word, and it's equal to elephant, and we work from inside the parentheses out on the second line of code. So len word. Len is the len function built into Python. It counts up the number of characters in a string. So I'm counting the letters in elephant, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So really we have print 8. That's what this print command simplifies to. It's just print 8. There you go. That's a number, so I do not delimit it with double quotes. Number 2, the length of phrase. Well, blank spaces and punctuation symbols like the exclamation mark do count as characters. So carefully count all the letters there, and I'm going to purposely get this one wrong so that anybody who just basically scrolls down and looks at the final answers and doesn't watch this video and listen to everything is going to get this one wrong. The answer should be 18 if you count correctly, but I'm going to put I'm going to subtract 4 and put 14 so that people think spaces. No, I'm going to subtract 3 and put down 15 as the wrong answer. Okay, the next little section here, Elvis. So we have a variable first that if you like to keep track of things like we used to when we traced loops, you have this variable Elvis that's stored in a value Elvis that's stored in the variable named first, and you have last, which is currently equal to his last name, Presley. So maybe you take time to write down what your answers are, what the values are here on your worksheet. Now, what do we do here? Print first plus something plus last. Well, this is string concatenation with the plus symbols. So first is currently Elvis. So Elvis definitely prints out nicely over here in the output. Then, because of the plus blank space in double quotes, there will be a blank space here, and then last, which is Presley. So the P in Presley does not touch the S. There's a space in there. And I did say up in the directions that you should put one outer set of quotes around the final answer, because this whole thing is now glued together as one string, one set of double quotes. Okay, the next line of code, print last. Well, last is, we can keep track of it here, it's Presley, so that's just easy. It's the word Presley, but with double quotes around it for good style. And number 5, the length of first. Well, first is being kept track of on my scratch paper, Elvis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The length is 5. That is not a string, that's just the number 5. And now the next little section. First plus equals space. So the variable first gets crossed out now, and it's updated with from right to left. That's how the plus equals works back when we used numbers. A space gets tacked on to the end of Elvis. So be careful with your double quotes here. There's still a double quote to the left of the E, but now the double quote is over here with like a space in there. And now we do another plus equals concatenation, and the word, whatever's stored in last, Presley, is now tacked on to the end, to the right-hand side of first. So now first, it doesn't make any sense, because first sounds like it's just somebody's first name, but really, the variable first now stores Elvis with a space and now with the last name Presley added to it, all in one set of double quotes. I'm just tracing the code and doing what it tells me to do. So now it tells me to print first, and first is that whole thing, Elvis Presley. So the answer to number 6 is the same as the answer to number 3, with a space embedded in between his first name and his last name, and one set of outer double quotes. Number 7, Error, you can't do that. You can't take a number like 123 without quotes around it and add it with a plus to the string 432. Now in Java, that some of you will study later on here at Why I'm Missing, that would be legal, but you can't mix apples and oranges in a sense here in Python. It gives you an error. Sorry about that. Number 8, now the problem is fixed. On the left of this plus we have num, which is 123, but the str function puts quotes around it. So it takes an int, an integer, and puts quotes around it. That's what str does. And now we can concatenate it with whatever answer is. Answer is 432. Notice how I do not pronounce that 432. I pronounce it as a string, letter by letter, digit by digit, 432. Now when you concatenate those two together, your answer there to number 8 is 123,432. Don't say 123,432 because that would kind of be wrong. If you were on Jeopardy, they would definitely say incorrect. They're being perfect judges. There's the answer to number 8. That's a 3. I'm sloppy. Okay, number 9. It's kind of the opposite of number 8. We're taking answer 432 and the int function rips off the double quotes, changing it into the actual number 432. So we have the actual number 123 being mathematically added to 432, and that simplifies to 555. Number 10, we're using the slice operator in Python with the square brackets and the colon. Now this is kind of tricky, so I'm going to step through this slowly. When you have square brackets like this, you're going by the numbered index positions of the letters in a string. So you have to know that the letters here start counting at 0. The W is in position 0, the Y is in position 1, the O, the lowercase o, is in position 2, the M is in position 3, and so on. Well, we went far enough now. Name square brackets 1 colon 2. The first number in front of the colon, if you read the lecture notes, tells you the starting point. Well, the Y is in position 1. The second number specifies that you should go up to, but not including that position. So we don't include the 0. So if we start at the Y and go as far right as we can, but not include the 0, we basically extracted one like little letter Y. And that's what we're storing now from right to left into the variable letter. So when we print letter right now, if you keep track of it on your scratch paper, is equal to the lowercase y. And that's what prints, of course, for number 10, with double quotes around it, because that's the way it is. Python lets you do this 3 colon and then nothing inside the square brackets, which means you start at position 3, which is the M, and you automatically take everything that's left in that string, which name up here is why I'm missing. Maybe I should keep track of name for good style here somewhere on my scratch paper, why I'm missing. Double quotes is what's being stored there in the variable name. Well, anyway, we're taking the word missing, which happens to be a word. It didn't have to be a word. It could be like issing or just something else, other part of that. But the answer is missing, double quotes. Because of that 3 colon, that's what it does. Number 12, the length. Okay, so we have a new variable, name length. Name length, I got to keep track of it. It's equal to a number here. It's whatever the length of name is. Well, name is why I'm missing, and if you count up the letters there, it's 10. So the variable name length is equal to 10. So let's work from inside the parentheses out. Name length is really the number 10. So what we have really is 6 colon 10 inside the square bracket slice operator, all looking at the variable name. So find name on your worksheet right here, why I'm missing. Start at position 6 and go up to, but not including 10. Count with me because I don't have time to write it out. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The second S is the 6. And you go up to, but not including 10. 7, 8, 9. 10 is like off the end, which is legal. So basically the word sing is what we just pulled out of a name as a substring, we call it. And that's what prints in number 12, sing. Okay, letter 2. Oh, this is tricky. It looks long and complicated. Let's figure out what letter 2 is here. We work from inside the parentheses out. So name length up to this point is 10. 10 minus 1 is 9. So really we have 9 colon name length, which is still 10. See the 10? Not 10 minus 1 is 9. So really I'm rewriting this as letter 2 equals name square brackets 9 colon 10. Well, let's go back up to why I'm missing. Position 9. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's the G. So you start at G and you go up to, but not including 10, which takes you off the end. So really you've just gotten the letter G. The letter G is now stored in the variable letter 2. If you're keeping track of letter 2, it's just the single letter G, and therefore it prints, and that's your answer to number 13, the single letter G. Inventor, Ben Franklin. Well, there's this find method in Python. It's a little different than the length function, which has a set of parentheses. You look at whatever's in front of the dot operator that you can read about in the lecture notes, this dot operator. Inventor is Ben Franklin. And you're finding Frank, which is called a substring, to see if it's inside of, quote, Ben Franklin. Well, it is. It's right there. See the Frank? The Frank is part of Ben Franklin. Maybe some people called him Frank as a nickname. Who knows? So the find method asks you to find where that substring begins in the larger string inventor. Well, the F is in position, count from 0. The B is 0. 0, 1, 2, the space is 3. The F is position 4. So that's what prints. All of this simplifies to 4 because 4 is the position where the F in Frank started up here in Ben Franklin. Now number 15 is tricky because we're looking for something that just ain't there. You know, George is not part of Ben Franklin like Frank was. You know, there's no George in there. So Python, if you read the lecture notes, it always gives you a -1 if it doesn't find what it's looking for. So there, George just isn't there, -1. Easy. It's not an error, by the way. Number 16, is the letter N in spot? Well, let's go to inventor, which is still Ben Franklin, and find the first N and find what position it's in. Okay, that N right there in Ben is 0, 1, 2. So the number 2 is stored in the variable spot. The variable spot here is the number 2, and that's what prints, so that's easy for number 16. And now finishing up this worksheet, spot plus 1, well, spot is 2, so 2 plus 1 according to order of operations is a 3. And the way find works when you have two things separated by a comma, we're looking for an N in inventor, but we're starting at position 3. So up here in inventor, Ben Franklin, we're starting at position 3, and only then are we looking. Position 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So we're looking at that space. Everything from the space on is where we're looking for the first occurrence of N. You don't start counting all over again. So this N right here, it's in position, let me count again from the beginning, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's found in position 7. So that's the way right here with this optional second parameter after the comma, and read the lecture notes, you'll see more examples, of finding a second or third occurrence of a letter. I'll leave it as an exercise for you to do on your own to figure out what you would have to put in here to find that third N in inventor Ben Franklin. So there are your answers, and remember, there was a wrong answer here. You had to listen to the worksheet because I wrote the wrong thing for one of these, and you have to watch the 15-minute video if you want to be really, really careful here.